Welcome back to Final Fantasy V. Last time, Sildra fucking died in a whirlpool. And now that the winds died down, that means can't really do much. And if we could, we don't really have a captain. He's not feeling great, understandably.
Bards, you go to port. Gallop, you go to starboard. Start rowing.
I don't think these men know what port and starboard are. Bartz just goes to the back.
that's the aft, you dumbass. You can remember because it sounds like ass.
It's a real afterthought.
The only reason I know starboard is right is that I had to watch an educational video in school about boats, and it was called, like, sailing the starboard way, as in sailing the right way.
Yeah, I get that. That's cute. It's also a good mnemonic.
Also burned, like, starboard is right, therefore port has to be left.
Yep.
And now I never go on boats, so it doesn't fucking matter.
That's how I learned East and West.
For East, I still have to do the never eat soggy waffles thing every time I look at a map.
Sometimes certain things just stick to your brain better than others and you don't know why. I've never had problems with stalagmite or stalactite. Stalactites are the one on the ceiling. I don't know why I can recall this information with such ease. I don't need the mnemonic for it either. I don't need the T thing for it. I just know stalactite is ceiling. That's just a thing my brain knows immediately. Alright, so we have drifted, and we've got one more chance to take a nap on this boat because it has been welcomed to the ship graveyard. So, it's not going anywhere after this. So let's change Lena to Dragoon real quick. That's going to be our major change. Let's see, do not have a spear for her. If I remember correctly, I gave that to Gallop and he's not giving it up. Oh, no, he apparently is. By force.
No, my pole!
The
I can't pole dance anymore!
Alright, let's just give him the staff, because apparently that's better than a knife. You heard it here, blunt force trauma, better than just a tiny stab. Also, I love that Gallop takes the bed and everybody else just sits.
Dickhead. It's probably because he's old.
He's old, he needs the bed, he needs support.
You'd think it'd be Lena. But I guess respect your elders is a bit more of like a cultural tradition in Japan.
Alright, so now that we're in the ship graveyard, it's not just the boats that are dead, it's also the enemies. We've got a whole lot of undead enemies. So here's where we get to learn the fun facts about undead enemies. So either mage you take is going to be useful in terms of, the classic mages. Black mage, of course, has fire magic, which you can usually safely assume is going to be pretty effective against undead enemies. However, much like in just about any given Final Fantasy game, white magic will also affect undead enemies. If you heal them, it will do damage to them. Because I guess you're putting life back into their bodies, and therefore they're getting closer to zero. Instead of undead, they are just normal dead. You've healed them too much.
It's probably just supposed to be like a church thing. Like it's holy magic.
Alright, so for some reason Ferris doesn't want to go through the water, which is weird because he's a pirate. Ah well, we'll dwell on that later. So, that being said, in the base game, this is where you might learn that undead enemies also have another trick up their sleeve that's disadvantageous to you, and that's the fact that draining magic will actually hurt you if you use it on undead enemies. So if you try to use Vampire on this skeleton, for example, it will damage you. Which is kind of dangerous if you use Vampire, but it's not the most powerful spell in the world, and Blue Mage does have other tricks up its sleeve. However, do recall that Dancer was introduced early in this hack, and that has a couple of dance moves where if you use them, it will damage the enemy and heal you, and that is one of the draining spells. So, I don't have any alternate classes for Galuf right now other than Freelancer, which is, kind of useless. I want to get ABP for Dancer. But I cannot use the actual dance command, because if I do, there is a small chance that Galuf will die. Jitterbug will kill him. Trust me, I know, because I wanted to see. And indeed, that it counts as a drain.
So I saw you did something with Cure that I can't remember if we talked about. Most spells in this game can be used as hit all spells, right? You just have to move the cursor enough times.
Yes. Either right if you're using it on the party, or left for a group of enemies. A group Kira will do... There's a fish in my shorts! A group attack or heal will typically do less damage to the group than it would do against a single enemy, so if anybody is in danger, it's better to heal a specific character rather than heal the group. Take care of who needs it first, and then heal the group later, if nobody else is in immediate danger.
Also, I know what pneumonia is.
I mean, look, you get amnesia, but you just remember what certain diseases are. It's fine. Well, I mean, Galuf, there's better ways to word that, but whatever. Grandpa, you're old. Alright, so we learned very early on, so Ferris is a woman. It's very hard to play coy about that, because,
now we can
again...
stop intermittently misgendering her.
But it's hard to play coy about. So, at least it happens early. And the explanation makes sense. I was a small child, separated from her father, and there were pirates everywhere. Do you think I wanted to present as a woman there? Galuf, that does not explain your earlier behavior at all. You have to do some soul searching, my man. Ferris aggressively goes to bed.
So Ferris is definitely a cool and definitely a queer adjacent character, but in the text, the queerest thing she does is cross-dress. Which is enough for me, but might not be enough for some hardliners. Also, Galuf is dead.
There's a little bit of gender fluidity, just because Ferris still kind of uses, male pronouns sometimes and has zero qualms really presenting as a man to her crew. Also, Galuf, shut up. Galuf, please.
That makes no sense in English. Women don't talk different in English. We don't have Watashi.
Ferris is the closest to cussing, and as we all know, women never cuss.
It's absolutely a thing where, he's mad about her using, ore. I don't know that for certain, but I would bet money on it. Anyways, we said misgender earlier. That's not 100% accurate, because Ferris is okay with he, him pronouns.
It's just, I know a thing about the character.
Yeah. A lot of people seem to think that, if there is a story reason for a character to assume a different gender, they can't be trans or gender fluid in any way, and that's so dumb.
Yeah, this of course is, an earlier RPG, so it's not... We're not really going to get much more about Ferris and gender from this point and onwards. It's just a thing we learn now, and it will just be Ferris from here on out.
I'm just
Also, Gallup gain flirt. Anyway,
horrible timing.
so we're putting that on immediately, obviously. Charm enemies to make them forget about attacking. Alright, so anyway, yeah, I guess while we're at it, Ship Graveyard, not much to say about it other than it's just really cool. This is a really rad set piece. Also, make sure to pick this up. First time I ever played this game, I didn't. I completely missed that that was like a thing you could interact with, and I did not have the world map for the rest of the game. At least until I came back here. Also, these horrifying enemies.
Awesome thing about early JRPGs where you can just miss very important items and game mechanics.
Also, I'll admit I kinda did a dumb here. So, that enemy is called an Undead Husk, which is your hint that it is an undead enemy. But I saw it and it's like, oh, that's just like a golem enemy. That's just made of rocks. It's not undead, right? Despite being called undead. So, I did try to dance on it, which is not the best idea. Thankfully, I only mystery waltzed instead of jitterbugging, because if I jitterbugged, Galuf would have died there. However, that mystery waltz is basically just the Osmos version, where it actually absorbs MP instead of HP, which, same thing, you still lose it to an undead enemy, but still, it's... Didn't mention that before, but that's what that does.
Despite 5 being my favorite Final Fantasy, I have not played it in years, so I don't remember all the stuff about all the jobs. I also didn't use Dancer that much.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. Dancer is a very weird class that doesn't really have a niche. I mean, it's clearly very powerful unless you're worried about accidentally eating your own soul with a dance around undead enemies, but like, it doesn't really do much outside of just dance command. That's
it. Kind of exists for the 4-job Fiesta, really.
Pretty much.
If you get it, you can use it for a niche you might not have otherwise, but in the base game, it's like, you'll just use a better class.
Mm-hmm. Something's fishy about this place, and it ain't COD. God, I fucking love the writing in this game so much.
Oh, I love this part.
So Bart sees his mom, seems to know better, tries to back out for a moment, but whoops, now he's floating over. Oh, we remember him from the start of the game. Alright, so here's Lena's dad.
And then Ferris is gonna get to see Soldier's Ghost.
Oh, that's weird, they're pairing up with these two. Alright, and the last ghost we have... Who are you?
Lex Luthor is the Flash voice. I have no idea who this is.
So yeah, this fucking rules. This scene is great for getting a lot of information across, despite the fact that it seems like just, you know, the lead up to a random boss we're never going to think about again. And that is it for the most part. But, like, this scene is actually super important, and this is great because... Alright, so... Amnesia in plotlines is a known cliché, and it is used to varyingly successful degrees in whatever it appears in. You know, oftentimes it's just used as, like, we need the character to be important but not know why, and we also need to be able to exposit, so we need this character to be a fresh pair of eyes on the world. And, like, that's fair. Like, if you don't have characters who need exposition, then either it can feel kind of ham-fisted if you use it, or then you don't include exposition, and you have something like Final Fantasy XIII, where a bunch of proper nouns happen at you, and you just sort of have to deal with it, because the characters already kinda know what's going on, and they don't tell you what's happening. But this scene rules, because, yeah, for the most part, Galuf is here with Amnesia, to, you know, hide certain plot points. Now we know, apparently, he has a granddaughter. But the thing is, he can't remember her.
He's just assaulting the other party members.
his amnesia specifically comes into play as an advantageous thing, because while everyone else has things tying them down, I mean, Galuf does too, he just doesn't know them.
Yeah, I got my soul!
Hell yeah! I love having a soul.
Amnesia is one of those things where, like, people make fun of it as a cliche, but if you genuinely think that, like, having amnesia makes the story worse automatically, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's not inherently bad. It can be used poorly, but yeah, no, I'm usually neutral on it, unless it's used particularly egregiously bad.
For another example from the series, Final Fantasy VII was built around the main character having amnesia and mental problems. Xenogears was actually, like, started life as a working plot for Final Fantasy VII. Galuf stopped doing that. It's not working here.
I mean, it would work better if he were to, use Swords Dance. However, it isn't until this happens that it's dangerous to use Mystery Waltz or Jitterbug. So, Siren has a bunch of gimmicks, and this is one of them. Once she becomes undead, physical attacks do a lot less damage to her, and this is where your mages come into play. You can either use Black Mage to burn her, or just cure magic. You can also throw a Phoenix down to make this fight super easy.
This whole scene is just kind of built to be, like, really good for children playing this game. Because they get to feel super smart for figuring things out that the game has not explicitly told them. Like, Ferris and Lena's relationship. But also, I distinctly remember using Libra at this point and learning that the Siren, like, had different weaknesses in the different forms through the use of Libra. I felt super fucking smart when I did that. Yeah, the useless spell came in handy.
Libra is definitely a useful one overall, though, just for knowing weaknesses. Not that that's particularly useful here, just because I don't have a Black Mage on call, so I kind of just have to roll with what I've got here.
I saw you hover over Flirt.
The other gimmick of this boss is that she just has a whole lot of status boosting spells, such as Protect and Haste, which, those are pretty good. Slow also sucks for me right now. So being able to counter this with Time Mage in this particular hack, because I believe they actually did give us Haste and Slow, that's pretty useful, actually. Also, yes, we were able to confuse Siren. That is apparently a thing you can do to some bosses. I really wish that killed her. Jump, however, did her in.
I just like the idea of, oh, you're going to tempt us, are you? Well.
Right, so yeah, Siren can actually be pretty tough, especially with the bunch of spells she can use at the start. Just, Haste means she has a lot more actions, and Protect means that you do less damage in general, and even less when she goes undead. I'm definitely not happy, you all think I'm cool.
Anyways, back to Amnesia as a cliche. It is interesting that as early as Final Fantasy V on the Super Nintendo, they were already playing with that in, like, not dramatic ways, but just kind of weird and funny ways.
How can this be used not... I'm gonna get
Surprise!
Here I go!
Wait, that's not right. Aha, surprise! You didn't expect a skeleton.
You may have defeated Siren, but can you defeat me? Oh god, you could! I'm alive once again! Which means I'm dead! I've been de-undeaded! Alright, well then, I guess that's it for this episode of Final Fantasy V. And we'll see you next time, where we figure out where we even are in the world.
Title of this episode on YouTube better be The Skeleton Appears.